Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world you're joining us from. Welcome to Rev.io, our very first MSP Unfiltered. I'm Brook Lee. I'm the Senior Director of Community here. Very excited for everybody to join us today. This is our very first edition, so I'm super, super excited everybody could join us and come see this. I've got a couple of special guests today. This is a monthly series that we're going to be having here, very educational in its focus. So every month we're going to be teaching everybody something new, something that you'll be able to take back and plug in at your MSP and be able to use tomorrow. That's my big thing. I want to make sure that everybody's learning something. So without further ado, let me bring in our two special guests and I'll do some intros when the guys come in. We have Evan Rice. He is the president and COO here at Rev.io. And we also have the infamous or famous, depending on what day it is and what event we're at, Usman Zahoor. He's our VP of Channel and Community. Welcome, guys, and thank you very much.
Hey, Brooke.
Hey, Brooke, how are you?
I am joining everybody. I always try to do like a little intro. I'm local in St. Pete. Usman, where are you coming at us from today?
About as far from St. Pete as you can get on the continental U.S. I'm calling from Vancouver, BC.
One of my favorite places in Canada. Absolutely love Vancouver. And Evan, where are you joining us from today?
I'm kind of in the middle. I'm in the Dallas, Texas area, kind of northern suburb called Plano.
Oh, okay. Okay. Are you a Cowboys fan? I'm hoping not.
I am not. I grew up in Atlanta. So
okay, great. All right. So we can still be friends. So that's good.
Bulldog, and then unfortunately the Falcons. It's a tough.
That's one of those. It's you just kind of you got to write it out. But at least you're not the Cleveland Browns. I'm sorry for anybody that's listening to the call that's from Cleveland. So there's that. So at least you're not Cleveland. So welcome to our inaugural edition of MSP Unfiltered. It's powered by Rev.io. So these are going to be a monthly series that we're going to have where I tell people this is just real talk. This is if Usman, Evan, and I, we were at an event, we went to the bar, we're having a couple of drinks, and we're just kind of talking about work, what's going on. These are the kind of conversations that we're going to be having this year. So it's not sales. We're not promoting anybody. We're not promoting any brands. It's just things that are happening that are in our space day to day, week to week, month to month. And what are the things that we're hearing and that we are learning about that we can share with y'all so that you can take that back to your MSP or your ITSP and then put those things into practice. Because we really just want to help everybody be better. And we don't want anybody to reinvent the wheel if we have ways to make that happen. So kind of what I wanted to do today is, because this is our inaugural edition, is I wanted Evan to sort of tell us the story. I call it the story of us, how this company came to be, because a lot of people that are in the space that I am, the traditional MSP space, we're not very familiar with Rev.io, even though they've been around a really long time. So Evan, I want you to kind of tell us, because we do have some Florida roots with the company. We started, for any of y'all are familiar, in a lovely little town called Pensacola, which I do love. They have great beaches. So Evan, why don't you kind of give us the story of us, the story of Rev.io?
Yeah, I would be happy to. So the company has been in business now almost 24 years. Started in 2002, like you mentioned, in Pensacola, Florida. I think where, maybe not everyone who's in the IT MSP space has heard of us is we started in communications. The company was founded by our original founder and was just bootstrapped lifestyle business, and was built, ultimately to do billing for, local communications companies. Our founder was working inside of one of the large cable companies in Florida, was working on their back office systems, had a friend that he met through his church who was starting a prepaid wireline CLEC, which back then was pretty big deal, right? Competitive communications companies, and just couldn't really find something to do what they needed, which was to do billing, track accounts, have basic CRM functionality. So kind of enlisted, which our original founder was Ross Overstreet, to build that for them. And he did that successfully. Ultimately, really was successful in that implementation. Decided that he wanted to do this full time. So he bought back the IP from that original customer and founded the company, who at the time was H2O. So H2O delivered communications billing solutions for a variety of service providers over the next 10 years. Again, it was really grown, founder funded, bootstrapped, no outside investment.
I love that.
Over the course of 10 years, acquired a few developers to help out. Some of those are still with us today, so have been with the company for over 20 years, and grew that to about 20 service providers over that period. and grew it to a couple $1 million a year, private business. And around that time frame, around 2012, Ross was looking to potentially exit the business, kind of move on, and got to where he had discussions with his brother-in-law, who is now our CEO. So Brent Maropus, who is married to Ross's wife, or was married to Ross's sister, and that is how they are
I was going to
connected.
say that's a little complicated there, Evan.
That'd be a little awkward, right? So Brent is married to Ross's sister, Whitney. They got talking, and it was like, hey, this is what I'm looking to potentially do. And Brent, who I've known for over that period of time, he and I were both with a communications company called CBeyond, which was a private voice over IP organization that leveraged Cisco technology. That company we were part of.
Brent was already doing similar stuff when he was having the conversations with his soon-to-be brother-in-law. Okay.
Correct. And was his brother-in-law
Okay.
when having these conversations. So he and I both ran sales at a company called CBeyond. So we knew communications. We've been involved in distributing this, focused on the SMB market. I left around the 2010 timeframe. Brent left a little bit before me, kind of 2009. He went and did a operating role with an orthopedics company. I went to VMware, which is virtualization software technology. That they were kind of in their boom in their heyday when I went in 2010. So we each did our own thing for a few years, and Brent was looking to be, in an entrepreneurial venture, and had this discussion, with his brother-in-law, and they decided to, restructure the company and to go into business together. And really, with the idea that from what Brent and I had experienced at CBeyond, we were using Oracle technology, Siebel, custom-built CRMs, using, I think, a purpose-built billing platform was extremely difficult whenever you got a call from a
Which is great if you have a massive company that's billions of dollars and you can just throw money at a problem until you can fix it. But it's not, that kind of stuff is great, but it's not what I call for like regular people like us.
Yeah, I mean, the solutions we had in at our peak, I think we were 500 million in recurring revenue. We're not that great, right? Again, Oracle, Siebel, stitched together custom billing. If a customer called you with a billing issue or a question on a service, like, you pretty much couldn't find the answer to it, especially if you're out in the field, which many of us were. We were out doing outdoor, sales, going out and going visit clients on site. You had to be on the local network. You couldn't access it. The systems didn't talk. Like when we saw the original, H2O, which now is Rev.io, we were really blown away by the fact that there was all in one. You could kind of see the life cycle of the customer end to end. You could get to it from anywhere with an internet connection. And, he really saw this is something that we personally know how many of these providers are out there, and the types of tools that the largest companies are using this type of stuff. What are the small ones getting access to, right? And we said,
that's what I said, it's not for us regular people. We just don't have, you don't have the funding, you don't have the money, you don't have the staffing to be able to, heck, even if you bought it, how are you going to maintain it? I mean, you don't have the head count for that kind of stuff.
That's right. So they're using spreadsheets and doing things manually, right? Which we all know takes lots of time. Even back in, 2012, we still see this today, right? So they decided to go into business together. I was Brent's first hire after getting that deal in place to come in and start sales and marketing, because we really saw we have a mature product. This is something that's vastly better than what is out there on the market. I did some basic research on competitors and saw it was still a lot of client server type setups. So the fact that we had a true, cloud product that could deliver a comprehensive workflow, including the most complicated billing and tax management for communications companies, really saw opportunity.
That is a stinking nightmare. I've seen one of those bills on a demo here, and I just thought, this is absolute insanity. I don't know why anybody would want to look at those bills. The tax list alone is enough to maybe not want to do it.
So over the next 10 years, we've grown and scaled the organization. We rebranded to Rev.io in 2016. If you've ever tried to search H2O online, you get all kinds of stuff. You get landscaping, irrigation systems, mermaids come up, like all kinds of stuff. So we're like, hey, if we're going to really scale this organization and allow people, for what we do, Rev.io made a lot of sense. It was a modern domain at the time. Rev meaning revenue, IO input output. So really kind of embodied our revenue in motion concept for recurring revenue providers. And over that period of time, we were able to scale to by 2019, we were over 10 million in revenue. We had over 100 service providers that were using us. And we did get some outside investment to help us scale. So, restructured the company, brought in a professionalized board, which ultimately ended up being, how we connected with you, and really have been successful in terms of distributing not just to communications companies, but we have found that these industries are merging. That we saw more and more of our communications clients were starting to add managed services, and more of those pure managed service providers, which many of them get access to our platform through some of our channel partners who resell our platform down market into, those don't have huge communications volumes. But if you're going to deliver VoIP, mobile data connectivity, you have to be able to track, bill, manage tax appropriately, or you can't do so compliantly. So we saw
When did y'all move to Atlanta?
We started in Pensacola, Florida. We moved to Atlanta within the first year of Brent joining the company. So we were there by 2013. We made that move really to gain a lot more access to our clients. I think you mentioned you've been to Pensacola and seen the beaches.
It's a lovely, quaint town, but it's small.
Not great direct flight paths, right?
Yeah,
so
no.
Usually you're flying through Atlanta to get there anyway. So
Absolutely.
Moved to Atlanta gave us access to over 70% of our clients with a direct flight. Really technology hub as well, where we were able to find
and get you access to people, because we have for anybody that doesn't know our office in Atlanta, I posted some pictures on LinkedIn when I went up there. We have a significant footprint there as far as our office goes and the people that we have. And I love Atlanta. I know a lot of people don't like the airport, but I think y'all just don't know it well, because I absolutely love the Atlanta airport. You can get around there super easy, great people there. But you also got access to the people of the Atlanta area, because that's a technology hub of like the East Coast. And there's so many colleges there. So there's young kids coming out of college that are, they're smart, they're hungry, they're looking for work. So I think there's a multitude of like pluses of being in the Atlanta area. And also because you're in Atlanta, you're not going to have a ton of that winter weather issues. So you're not going to have, we've got the snow, we've got the ice, we've got a whatever. So now we have to have redundant everything because we deal with that inclement weather. So I think it's a great place to be based out of.
It has worked out very well for us. I think you mentioned one of the key aspects was access to technical talent, young talent that was excited and interested in working with innovative technologies and wanting to push what our system could do. So we have certainly found a home here. Over half of our employees live here. The 2020 period, with obviously the COVID pandemic and the move to work from home, we were originally 100% of our employees were in Atlanta, except for maybe a couple who, stayed in Pensacola when we made that transition and worked remotely. Now it's about 50-50. We have employees across 20 different states in the United States. We've grown the business significantly. We have over 1,000 service providers that use Rev.io today. And that's, again, a mix of communications companies, managed service providers, commercial AV providers, security system providers. We've got, really anyone who touches technology and delivers service primarily to, the SMB market, but we have those that serve enterprise.
Yeah. We can definitely take care of internal IT. So if there's a business that has a large, internal IT department where you still need to be able to keep track of those things, we can definitely cover that as well. We were talking about COVID and everybody kind of went home. I have to say, I did enjoy coming to the office. I'm hoping to come more often this year because I mean, I'm not saying everybody needs to go back, return to work 5 days a week, but I like having somewhere where we can go and collaborate. I like being able to like sit down with people in person. And I think sometimes people just, again, I get the remote part, but I love that we have an office. I love that there's people that are in there. There's always something happening. It's a cool kind of funky industrial space too. So I really liked coming into the office and being able to hang out with everybody there. Now the sales gong, that was not something that I was ready for.
Because get ready for more of it, right?
Yeah. I know there was a lot happening with the gong. So I mean, the salespeople that are going to listen to this are going to be, oh my gosh, what is she talking about? She's never seen it before. But again, if you're in an MSP or like I've been, it's not that, but it's like every time you turn around, then people, I guess they started noticing and they're like, hey, Brooke, get ready. We're getting ready to like hit the gong again. I'm like, okay, so now I'm like ready when we get ready to do it. But I do like that we have people there.
It's
fun. So Usman, so let's get into your sort of background here, because I really wanted to call this series, this particular one, the story of us, but marketing, they're like, yeah, we're not going to call it that, so we're just going to call it whatever it is, and then underscore the story of us. So Usman, where did your career start, and sort of walk us down that, and then how you ended up here? Because I tell people, nobody does business because of software. You do business, you go work somewhere, you align with somebody because of the relationship and the people and the values and everything that somebody has. So sort of, where did you start, and what brought you here to want to be with Rev?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, I think, for me, I started in the telecom space, and more so on the retail side of telecom, selling telecom services to small, medium businesses. Obviously, I mentioned I'm in Vancouver. I am Canadian, and up here we do telecom a little bit differently. There's like three major players, and they kind of own everybody. But I started my career with Best Buy, actually. Best Buy Canada had a telecom division that was focused on, essentially acting as a channel partner for some of these large, Rogers, Bell, Telus, and selling to those guys. Then I kind of went into the MSP space on the billing side. So I actually used to compete with Rev.io for a really long time, over 6 years, I want to say. And during that time, gained a lot of respect for the company. But I was working at a company that was focused on communications billing for the MSP market. So for me, getting into this space has really always been about the MSP. And Evan kind of touched on convergence a little bit. That, I think, is something that, really right at the start of COVID, or even before that, where I kind of picked up on that, with everybody moving to remote work, the need for proper UCaaS systems that a lot of small, medium-sized businesses could utilize.
We did not have any of that stuff in place. I mean, we had Jack when COVID hit. I mean, that was not something that was a popular thing to do. It was frowned upon. So having that like zero infrastructure, like how are you going to call people? How am I going to connect to the internet? How am I going to get back to the server? We didn't have any of that stuff.
That's right. That's right. I think the best we had was Skype, right? And Skype was pretty bad too.
It was so bad.
But what I quickly kind of realized is, focus on the MSP space. It's like, hey, this is such a huge opportunity for MSPs to add this additional service onto their offerings to the end customer, really take care of these businesses that are now moving to remote work, solving their IT challenges, but also solving their communication challenges. It kind of really went hand in hand. So I've always been about, sort of focusing on solving these operational challenges, because I learned very early on that that's the area that MSPs struggle with quite often, right? As they, and I'm a nerd at heart, so I really kind of see that from a lot of MSPs' point of view. They love the tech, and they love like solving challenges for folks, right? Like I was a go-to guy at the family gatherings where a computer is broken. Like you go talk to him, he'll fix your computer, So
my laptop's broke. Can you take a look, bro? I'm trying to watch my football game and eat my turkey. What do you? I mean, can you just wait until we get done?
That's right. That's right. So I get the passion that MSPs have for technology, but the operations piece it's always been a struggle. And so I work with tons of operational tools at my time at my previous company that kind of integrated the telecom billing into it. Work with lots of MSPs, and pretty much every conversation I had was like, hey, we want to add VoIP to our tech stack, or we want to be able to resolve tickets faster, or we want to be able to do this or that, but like our tools just are not getting us there, right? So again, for me, I've always been very passionate about like one, solving the operational challenges, but two, also helping the company grow their revenue, right? And we saw this in during COVID. MSPs grew so freaking much during that time, and we did too, right? Like we benefited from that growth, and I still believe that. I still believe, like, for MSPs that want to expand their revenue, voice is such a great opportunity. This convergence that Evan is talking about, that we talk about, at Rev quite a bit, where more businesses are looking for that, one point of contact for a lot of their business needs. So, as I was looking at, hey, where do I want to go next, right? Where do I want to take my career? One, obviously, I was competing against these guys. Yeah, exactly. So, like, hey, that could be potentially a good step. But I always felt like, hey, if there was a company that came in to solve the operational ticketing challenges that a lot of MSPs have, but also solve a lot of the billing challenges that MSPs are going to run into, whether they're adding voice or whether they want to build Microsoft licenses that are so freaking complex.
To your point, they just want to fix stuff. They don't. It's a lot of people that. I'm not saying they're not good at business, but they get to a certain point and they don't know how to get past, sort of they hit that plateau. How do I
That's
get
right.
to the next level? And I think they definitely struggle with that, is they're not sure how to make the billing repeatable, to make it easy, to make it so that it's less for me to do, because they still just want to fix the things. But I think that's a huge struggle to this day that I still see is, yes, I want to make more money. I want to have more revenue. Show me some ways to do that. But a lot of it is I tell people all the time, I go do consulting and I say the front door is just open and money's just flying out the door,
That's right.
because they're not
Exactly.
sure how to capture that revenue. Sometimes because it's operationally, is they don't have the right
Mhm.
tools in place to be able to make that happen.
Yeah. And so if you want to scale, right, that kind of becomes the main challenge. How do we scale while still not adding a whole bunch of additional overhead? I'm surprised Evan didn't touch on this, but what attracted me to Rev so much was our mission and vision are literally aligned with those two things that I'm so passionate about: solving operational challenges and helping partners grow revenue efficiently, right? And so for me, it was kind of a natural fit. These guys are working on some of the stuff that I always felt like, hey, if somebody could solve these challenges, not only is it going to help the MSPs grow, but it's also going to be a great business opportunity. And here we are now. We're getting to work with
So
MSPs
none of the
all day.
boys were like, absolutely not, or we're not bringing Usman in. He's from the other
Well,
side, the enemy. I don't want that guy.
that's right. That's right. I wasn't privy to those conversations that happened before I came here, but I think everybody
I'm not
was.
saying there was none of that. Not gonna say there was none of that. I think
I can say I've got some inside tea. There was a little of that because everybody was like, not this guy. We've been going against this guy for how many years? No, we can't have that guy.
I think Brett
But it's
Brown
cool
was
that that's sort of the path of it. So again, I talk a lot about that people do business with people. So I have not been in the channel space very long. I've traditionally just been all MSP, all IT my entire life, and moved into the channel space. And then I was working last year for a different company. And Usman reached out on LinkedIn and he was like, hey, I watch your LinkedIn. Looks like you know a lot of MSP stuff or whatever. Happy to connect. And for everybody that's going to watch this, we get hundreds of those messages a day. Don't get me wrong. But there's a lot of people that are the delete girl. I'm not. I literally respond back to everybody because I tell people you never know who you're going to meet, even on LinkedIn. There's people all over the world that may have some information, or I might be able to help, or maybe they can help me. So I always respond to every single person. So again, I had never met Usman. I didn't know who he was, never seen him before, ever. And then I was in an event and he came up and introduced himself in person. And we just like hit it off like out of the gate because we're both sort of like geeks. And so we were just kind of geeking out. And he was telling me about this new product at Rev. I had never heard of the company before. And anybody that knows me, I am super passionate about PSAs. A ticketing platform is like where it's at because it is like the lifeblood of an MSP and an ITSP. If it's not in the PSA, it didn't happen. Do not talk to me until you get that in there. I don't want to talk about your ticket, your problem, your whatever. If I can't go look at it in the PSA, don't come to my door, knocking on my door for anything until then. And I never heard of it before. And I was like, okay, well, that's really cool. And then he was like, I would love for you to take a look at it. And I was like, yeah, let me know. Happy to help, whatever. Because again, that's one thing that I really do like about this space that I think is very different than other places that I've worked before. Because I was internal IT for a long time. It is very cutthroat in corporate, right? Here in the MSP and the channel space, it's very, very different. Everybody is really legitimately here to help everybody, which I absolutely love because I love being able to educate and teach. So this is definitely like a place where you can do those things. So I told Usman, I was like, yeah, happy to help. And then I went to an event and the Rev.io boys, they had a booth and everything set up. I was there with the booth. Usman comes over. He's like, hey, I'd like for you to come meet the team. Yeah, absolutely. Walk over to the booth. And there's a gentleman that works here. His name is Serge. I absolutely love Serge. Everybody that knows me knows how much I love Serge because we geeked out when he started showing me the stuffs on his laptop. I was like, what? What is this sorcery? Oh my gosh, this is really great. And he was like, I would love for you to take a look. Let's hop on a call. I was like, yes, here's my email address. Let's make it work. So I was able to see sort of like the behind the scenes stuff, which was really great. I also enjoyed that the guys in dev, when I said, I really like this, but this is like missing a piece, this is missing a part. And they were like, yeah, okay. So they wrote it down. And then I hopped back on a call a couple of weeks later and sure enough, it was fixed, which is very unheard of in this space, especially with a platform like a PSA that is so complex. And it reaches everywhere. So being able to pivot like that, I was really surprised at, but again, pleasantly so. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is really awesome. So fast forward to the end of last year and I am at an event for GTIA and I was at a lobby bar. Shocker, I know. And I was sitting next to Rob and we were having a beer and he was asking me, do you know anything about this company called Rev.io? I was like, matter of fact, I do. Let me give you all the tea and all the details on the Rev.io platform. So I told him all about it. That was how I got connected with Evan. And he said, hey, let's hop on a call. Let's have a chat. Honestly, I thought he was wanting consulting, like a go-to-market plan or what I thought about the MSP space or what was going to work well or whatever, because I have a lot of those calls. And again, happy to help people. And then I found out like 2 weeks ago, and I was on another call. Apparently, Brent was in the room also, and he was like eavesdropping on the conversation. So there was that. And that is how I ended up coming to work at this company. Number one is because the software is like next level. So I really like that. I also like that it's foundationally built on AI, which the other platforms that are out there right now are not. And that is, I mean, like it, love it, or hate it, that's where it's at. You got to get with it and you've got to use AI to help you. And so I was down at an event last week and I did a video I was walking through, and a lot of MSPs will come up and they're like, oh yeah, Brooke, I'm using AI. Okay, what for? Tell me what are you using it for? You have AI, but that's really cool. Are you, I mean, is it saving you time? Is it saving you money? Are your employees happy? Or your clients happy? And I know that's like the touchy feely part, but AI can really, it can have just such a wide reaching effect on your MSP. So yes, I can solve tickets faster. Yes, I can do this faster. I can, if I'm a field tech, I can say, so anybody doesn't know, we have Rev.io. Rev.io's like our AI dude here. And I can say, hey, Rev.io, I need you to bring up this ticket that I'm scheduled to go on site for. Can you start my time entry now? And guess what? Rev.io takes care of it and we're off and running. But those types of things that Rev.io can do, that our AI platform that can do, our PSA platform can do, it makes the employees happier because we don't have to do the administrative stuff. I don't have to do, I call them ticky-tack tasks.
Mhm.
I can get somebody else to do those things because none of us got into tech to do time entries and do administrative tasks and put a check in a box. I want to fix things. Network goes down. Again, it's super stressful, but I'm going to be honest, at heart, we all love it because we know we're going to get to figure out what the problem is. I can't wait to go on site. If we can't get it up remotely, let me go on site, get in that. I want to get in that network closet, see what's going on. I got all my tools, everything else. We secretly geek out over that stuff. Those are the things that we want to do. And we don't want to do the administrative stuff. So I tell people, I think it has an unintended effect by doing these things that it, in essence, will make your employees happier because we don't have to do those things anymore. And I don't know if people think about that when they think about AI. And again, I think the Rev.io part is really cool because I've been able to sit in on some of the calls that we have every other week, and you can see all of the advancements, all the evolution of what it's able to do. And it's really next level stuff. I don't think that anybody really understands the things that we are able to do here with this PSA. I mean, again, there's nothing out there that does it. And yes, I'm saying it because I work here, but yes, I'm saying it because I believe it. Because y'all know I'll shoot you straight. Everybody knows if it's BS, I'm going to call BS on it. If it doesn't work, I'm going to tell you this blank doesn't work. I'm going to just like tell you straight out of the gate. But I love that it works. I love that we are constantly changing. We have a community here that we run. It's the Rev community. It's for everybody that's a partner. But the cool thing about it is literally all the developers are in there. All of the people that are building the software every single day. And there is like a regular Joe Schmo partner. I'm just using the PSA. I don't have a big MSP. I've got like 15 people, but we noticed this one thing. The developer will be like, oh my gosh, that's a great idea. Let me get that on the next sprint. We'll get it done. 2 weeks later, this person comes back. Yeah, we got that done. Take a look at it. I mean, that is unheard of in this space. So it's about the people. And to Evan and Brent's, we'll say to their credit, is they have built this place to where that's okay to do those things. Some places it's not okay to do those things. There's just like red tape and there's all these other types of things. So building, like Usman's point, the values and the mission and all that kind of stuff. Yes, those are really cool words that are on the wall, but when you really like eat, live, and breathe it, and it allows you to create this software platform that is able to pivot that way, and basically everybody can say, I think this is a good idea. And if it's a good idea, then we just run with it. And it doesn't require all these layers of whatever. So I think that's a really cool part about our organization. Again, that's like the people touchy-feely part, but I really do love that about this place.
I think that's one of the things that kind of goes back down to even when I had first reached out to you, right? Like, and to your point, I've seen this right when I started. These guys have built such a culture of being open and also like embracing, like, we don't know what we don't know. So rather than us trying to make assumptions, right, reaching out to folks like you and having this community side where our clients are talking to each other, they're talking to us, and we're really building the platform based on what folks actually need versus what we think that they need. on the AI piece, I think that's so important as well, because you're right. AI is so common. A lot of folks like think of AI still as ChatGPT, where you're just talking back and forth with a bot, but having true agentic AI that's
I
doing
know.
stuff for you, right? Like that, I
Game
feel like is
changer.
the crazy part. Yeah.
Because everybody's like, they're like, oh, well, I have a genetic. Okay, but what does it do?
Hmm.
Because if it doesn't take action, if it doesn't do something, then it's not really agentic. I mean, it's you got a couple of workflows and you use some SQL queries on the backside, some and if or statements to make some things happen. That is not AI. Another thing that I also, because I like the PSA so much, obviously, and I want everybody at the MSP to work in it, and that's something that I basically insist on. I like that the platform that we have, it's usable by everybody. And by that, I mean, like somebody that's working in finance, they would be able to ask Revy, hey, Revy, I need you to give me the bottom 3 profitability clients that we have that are on a full agreement. And he or she's going to come back and give me that answer. If the dispatcher is like, hey, I need you, Revy, to give me a list of any of the tickets that have 0 time entries from yesterday, that is a huge thing to do at an MSP. I literally train people how to do it. I have made a lot of money building workflows on the back of certain PSAs to do that, because that is information as a dispatcher we have to have. What tickets were assigned yesterday? And again, this is the very tactical piece of it. So it's very big on, we can talk about finances and we can talk about profitability and everything else. But the day to day, these are the nuts and bolts that your MSP runs on. What tickets did not get worked yesterday? How hard is it for me to figure that out? I can build a report. I can use a tool like that has the cool dashboards and stuff like that. But if something gets changed, something breaks, something updates, then that's broken until my technical resource fixes it. Versus I stay in the PSA and I can say, hey, give me all the tickets that didn't get worked yesterday. I'm literally saving hours of work for this dispatcher, because that person needs to know what didn't get worked so we can get it reassigned. Somebody didn't get their issue solved yesterday. Somebody had a ticket for something that was important to them. I needed a printer installed. It didn't get done. Now I'm grumpy and upset at Brooks accounting firm. Somebody needs to know that that ticket didn't get worked. What I don't want is Brooke calling in on the phone saying nobody installed my printer yesterday. The dispatcher needs to know that that didn't happen. And again, I know that these are things that people are just like, yeah, that's whatever. But to the dispatcher, that's a very important task that they have to accomplish every single day. And if I can use Revy to make that easier for me so that I can then go be proactive about it and say, hey, Evan was on site yesterday. He had a ticket that ran long. He is coming first thing this morning to get that printer installed for you. He'll be there at 8:30. I adjust Evan's schedule. Now Evan's on his phone. Revy's telling him, hey, bro, guess what? You got to go here first because Brooke didn't get her printer installed and we've shifted your schedule. And again, I know that those are very tactical things, but those things don't traditionally happen automatically in a PSA for an MSP. Those are all of those steps are manual labor that we have to have a physical person to do, whether they're physically moving those tickets around or whether they're using a workflow. It's still a person that did it, versus now I have agentic AI that can make those things happen for me on the back end. Again, to me, that's why I think it's just like some next level cool stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think when you think about where our foundations come from, I appreciate Usman bringing up our culture. We define that with our 6 values of ACT Top, which are achieving extraordinary results, caring about employees, clients, and the community, taking responsibility, acting like owners, transparent leadership, opportunity to make a positive difference, and passion for innovation. And that has really guided who we bring into this organization. We talk about agentic capabilities from an AI standpoint, but really it's around, do you have humans with high agency? Right? Do we have people that
Yeah.
want to be proactive, that really care about the client, that are super excited about technology? And the foundations of this company, we were always a central mission critical application that was the core
Oh, yeah.
of record for our clients. And when you look at the communication side, in particular, some of our larger carriers that use our platform, scale and automation are not a luxury that allows you to be more efficient and to focus on the things that you want to do. It's absolutely critical. The communications companies have always been sales and growth focused organizations, where we see most of the MSPs that we work with are more passionate, innovators, technologists who tend to be opportunistic in terms of the clients they take on versus really this, growth outbound strategy. So Rev.io has always been a platform that's been designed to scale, that can leverage automation. Our data structures are built that way. And so we did get a nice head start as we set out to rebuild both platforms and include all the robust PSA functions, in addition to ability to do cybersecurity management, payments, which are those other legs of the stool that we really believe round out our solution. But automation has always been there, from the foundations, and how do you scale? And Usman pointed out that's the mission of the company, is to help clients grow revenue efficiently. So there's that growth component. Have to have
And I
the
think they still struggle
scale.
with that. I think MSPs are just, again, I think they want to solve issues. And some of that that goes back to the people that are here is all of us are basically consultants for the MSP, whether it's during the
Right.
onboarding process, which I think ours is very different. And I've onboarded a lot of PSAs before, is there's actual people that are invested. To your point, they need aptitude and attitude to work here. And you want people that are going to be passionate. But what I tell you is I can't teach anybody to be blunt. I can't teach you to give a shit. I can't teach you to care about your partners. I can't teach you to care about your clients. If you have aptitude and attitude, we can teach you anything. But having people that genuinely care about the clients that we have and the partners that we have, to me, that's what makes a difference. Because again, I think a lot of these MSPs, they know that they're not good at those things. They know that they're bad at the billing piece. They know they're bad at the payment piece. And that is always something that in my mind has traditionally, like, that's kind of like off to the side. We're going to fix all this stuff, and then we're going to worry about getting paid later, which is what causes a lot of them to get into sort of like a hole, because they're just like, we're going to figure this out later. And then, God bless them, a lot of them decide they're going to try to figure this thing out on their own. They're going to have some home baked spreadsheet combined with some, QuickBooks, whatever kind of dealio on the side. And none of it is integrated. So now you're just making more things difficult for people. So that's another thing that I really like about the PSA that we have here. Is almost like, because we started from the billing side, it was like, it wasn't an afterthought. Because I think that's the issue that I have with a lot of them, is it's like, let's do this really cool thing. And then I tell people they're just going to slap it on with some duct tape or some super glue, and that's going to work, versus being literally like integrated into the PSA itself. Because that almost, like I said, it seems like an afterthought, which is why when I first came here, I was like, the billing thing. And then I saw some of those bills and I was like, yes, the billing thing, absolutely not. But the fact that it's integrated, now it's no longer the MSPs are having the billing piece sort of like as an afterthought. It's baked into it, because at the end of the day, if we can't get paid, then we can't stay in business. We can't make payroll, we can't keep the lights on. But again, they're all technologists, or they're people that want to fix things, and they're business minded. But once you get to that point to where it's you plus maybe 30 employees, and you have a couple hundred clients, and you're sending invoices for 365, for your monthly recurring agreements that you have, or for anybody that's like the net new. So now you've got to send an invoice that's not billed against the agreement. And then all of a sudden it becomes not complicated, but now it's at that scale that you were mentioning. And I think that's what causes some of these MSPs to get into trouble, is not knowing how to sort of back out of that. So that would be a question that I have for you is okay, I've got this duct tape thing over here. I've got a PSA over here. If I'm a person that's like, you know what, this is just not working anymore, I know I can't grow and scale at this point. How is it that you all figured out a way to make it easier here for those MSPs? Because it's traditionally not, that is usually, it's people don't want to move simply because they know it's going to be such a headache. So what was sort of your thought process to make that easier for them from the jump?
Yeah, I think over a decade of doing migrations for communications carriers who, when we talk about some of the complexity of billing, and I think the other huge aspect is when you're just trying to run your business and serve your customers really well, last thing you want to do is be combing through manual data to try to figure out, is this action that I'm taking today profitable, right? It's not just around, am I going to bill it? Am I going to collect the payment? Is the work I'm doing,
did you make money on it?
did I actually make money on this, or did I just collect enough to where I lost a little bit, right? Like that we hear is consistently challenging, especially when you,
100%.
in your words, duct tape multiple systems together that don't talk. Well, how do I really know, whether I'm being efficient in terms of running my business? So, when you look at our roots in communications carriers, doing migrations of an enterprise billing system is the last thing they ever want to do, especially when you're tracking hundreds of products potentially that are being resold, thousands or millions of usage-based records that have to be compared. And ultimately, once I make a switch, that end customer sees a new bill, oftentimes for the exact same services that they've been paying for months or for years. If that bill changes drastically, their experience with you is potentially damaged, right? It's like, wait, why this was always right. Maybe it wasn't right before, but I'm used to it. And
Right.
now,
Yeah, yeah.
so I'm really going to take some, scrutiny to that. So when you look at a migration like that with the type of scale and volume that a sizable carrier has, we assembled in-house teams from, leadership, project management, data migration, systems configuration and analysis. We have, an entire in-house department that is dedicated to onboarding. And we've applied that same concept from complex data migrations to it's an exact, word picture of what you have to do when you have potentially multiple systems that are stitched together and now they're coming in, to a centralized experience. You have to have data, you have to have data integrity. We have to look at what are the outputs and what is that ultimate end customer experience going to be for our client who is a service provider. What we've seen as we were getting into this was that other providers out in the industry are not doing this. They are farming that out to consultants, sometimes just
100%.
really doing it at all, more just, hey, we're going to leave you to your own devices to
And
figure
for
out.
my people, it's like they're not MSP people, which is a deal breaker for me. So don't ask me to do something and hand me off to somebody that has no idea what our day to day is like and doesn't realize that, to your point, which is great. So MSP is like a big nothing burger as far as the billing goes, because we're not dealing with like thousands of endpoints and millions of usages or whatever. But we run lean at an MSP, both people wise and client wise. We don't have just like a ton of clients. So if 3 people fire me, that's a serious problem in an MSP. We don't have that type of run room. So if somebody gets a different bill and something's wrong, now all of a sudden they're looking at everything. Again, that's a huge issue for us. So that's something that I've noticed a lot with some of the other ones that are out there in the space is they do outsource it and they're people that don't have MSP background or experience, and you don't understand the pain of what's going to happen. Number one, if I don't get my data across, or if I send something to my clients that's incorrect or wrong, now they're questioning me. And again, we don't have the luxury of having thousands of clients that are out there and we can just be like, yeah, I mean, if 20 of them drop off, I mean, it's okay, fine. It just doesn't work like that in our space.
And I mean, what we've found, it's interesting because we are seeing that the MSP is becoming more and more complicated in terms of just their billing requirements.
Yeah.
There's the proliferation of SaaS and reselling cloud services and ultimately putting together a custom stack that you're delivering to that customer. I'm managing my RMM, I'm tracking endpoints, I'm doing EDR, I'm selling 10 to 20 different SaaS subscriptions that deliver, point solutions to my end customer. We started to see this become more analogous to what we were dealing with a provider that is often, it's a great analogy. They're reselling solutions as well. They're packaging underneath their brand. It's not just around what am I delivering to my end customer? It's also what's coming in my front door as far as how am I being billed and am I being billed correctly? And
to your point earlier, to make sure, am I making money?
Right.
Am I breaking even or am I losing money? And then how do I scale that as well? Because as new things come available, and we can talk about maybe they're going to resell some of these AI platforms that are out there to their clients. How do you make sure that you're billing those correctly? How do you sort of keep control of that? So yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff going on, and that's why I think people really want to. It's why when I consult people, I tell them, make sure that you partner with somebody that's an expert. And when you're an expert at what you do at your MSP, you have got to partner with somebody that's an expert in what they're providing for you. This can't be some fly by night. I just showed up like last year, the year before, and now you're going to be upset when it doesn't work. Bro, I could have told you this wasn't going to work. They literally have like no experience, no anything. So being able to partner with somebody that has the experience and the expertise, and they have experts in house. And I'm a huge person on customer service and customer support. If your support stinks, I don't care how good your product is, I will not use it and I will not come back. Again, because in our MSP space, we run so lean. I need to know that when I pick up the phone and call somebody or I send an email, somebody's looking at my stuff and they're going to help me get this fixed. Because the PSA, I tell people there's 3 things that you use in an MSP that every single person at your MSP uses. Number 1, it's going to be your 365, email, whatever. Number 2, it's going to be your documentation platform. Number 3, it's your PSA, it's your ticketing platform. Those are the only 3 tools that every single person, no matter what your job is, you are going to use those three things. Everything else is by different departments, different roles, different whatever. So it has to be something, this is a mission critical piece of software. And if we don't have people that are going to help me get onboarded, for us, the big one also is data loss. And I would love to say that I haven't seen that in some of the other PSAs that I've worked in, but those tickets, that's sometimes how we go back and figure out how we fixed a problem, or when was the last time this happened. Or if I'm using Rev.io and I'm like, hey, Rev.io, can you tell me how many times I've worked on this laptop in the last 6 weeks? Being able to have that data is critical for us to be able to work. And when you lose that data on the migration and some of the big three, I call them, I've seen that it's an absolute disaster, because then now you've lost part of your knowledge base that runs your business.
Yeah.
And don't get me started on billing. When they lose the billing stuff, holy smokes.
That's right. That's right. I think you touched on a lot of different things there, but I think the key thing is, like, we understand this business model really well, right? We didn't talk about TigerPaw too much. I think we probably should give folks a little bit of background on how, because I'm sick of people like saying like, oh, you guys just reskinned TigerPaw. We did not do that.
We did not.
Yeah. But the business model, I think, to Evan's point, there's a lot of overlap between how a traditional telecom company operates, a telecom provider, how an MSP operates, how an integrator operates. It's all about providing services to the end customers at the end of the day. And don't get me wrong, I think on the MSP side, there's a lot of billing issues as well. Like we touched on Microsoft licensing, right? Procurement and quoting of these services, having reconciliation between what's coming in and what's going out. Heck, that's why we went out and built Commerce Hub, right? Which has been a huge project, a huge initiative on our end, is to solve this challenge where the MSP can continue operating out of their core system and order things and resell them, build them to the end customer as well. So I think the core thing is we understand the business model really well of what the MSP is doing and the challenges that they're running into right now, right? With that being said,
because a lot of the MSPs are getting into that. Because like back in the day, like when I was working at my MSP in Savannah, I was a ShoreTel girl. I mean, everything was on-prem. That's what we used. And so when we moved into that VoIP space, I don't think any of the MSPs that did that realized the billing challenges that are involved with providing voice, which is why we started outsourcing at a lot of places that I worked at, because we just didn't want to deal with it. And it wasn't about like, installing it. It was the billing piece that was going to have to come after, because if you don't get that right, that's going to cause a lot of problems for a lot of people.
Yeah. And then now all of a sudden you're losing out on so much potential top line revenue. You're losing out a lot on the profit just because of this one freaking little thing that is making your life complex, right? So, can we talk about TigerPaw for a little bit, Evan? Maybe we should.
But I'm going to tell you, I was on Reddit this weekend and somebody was complaining about TigerPaw, so I put the disclaimer, "Hey, I work at Rev.io," and I was like, our platform is not TigerPaw with just like, we didn't put lipstick on a pig. This is literally, we got it. We were like, oh, this is really cool. But this guy, he won the internet. He said, it looks like it's from the 1980s and it was coated on a potato.
I mean, maybe the potato was the battery that was powering it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I think, we were opportunistic in that. I mean, we had absolutely seen that we were already moving further and further into managed services, just because so many of our clients, either through organic moves into that space, and really it makes sense if you are the trusted advisor for your customer and you're delivering mission critical applications like voice, connectivity, mobile, you start to have them ask you, can you do my backup as well?
Yeah.
Can you guys do my virus protection? I think we've seen from the other side, when you have a close relationship with your customer and you're managing their network, you're managing all of their patching, their backup, their virus protection, their security, they say, why do I have this other company coming in here and doing?
Can you just help me? Can you just help me?
Right. And half of the voice that I'm doing is now integrated into applications that you manage anyway, versus being a separate thing on my desk. So we just saw this logical merger, and we were getting those requests. We want you to integrate, Rev.io to the other third party, PSAs, like you mentioned, the big three. We were getting those requests. It was extremely challenging to do. I think just due to legacy technology.
Because they're from the 1980s and built on a potato. They haven't changed. It's a dinosaur. I mean, they haven't done any integrations. So from somebody like
together 6 platforms.
AI,
so it's not even one API, right? So you can't even just go to one place. So we really saw that we're going to need to do this natively. And we don't need, I think you brought up the point of, you have to have expertise in the market. You have to really understand what that provider needs. And we're like, we are certainly getting experience with it, but rather than just setting out, we're going to go rebuild this from scratch just with our knowledge. We, had been acquisitive through a couple other smaller providers, tuck-ins of other billing systems. We acquired some provisioning technology for, Broadworks, which was a traditional platform that many of our clients were using. So in 2023, we had the opportunity to acquire Tiger Paw. We did a lot of diligence. In that diligence, we heard very similar feedback, including from, our board was like, hey, this thing looks like AOL from the 90s. I don't know if it was 80s and coded on a potato, but like this is clearly legacy technology and not on par with what the core Rev.io product set is, right? So, but what we did see was we found a great team, a company been in business since the 80s, tons of experience with different IT managed service providers, field service providers, those that are doing the cabling side, physical security, kind of all the touch points that a comprehensive, you glued them all together, are a comprehensive provider that can handle any of the needs of a business. But we definitely knew that we were going to have to rebuild the technology from scratch. What we saw as creating viability to do that was how robust our core platform in Rev.io was and how complementary a lot of the functionality was, that we don't have to rebuild everything. We can layer in Rev.io and we can rebuild some of these areas that Rev.io doesn't touch to not just create a new PSA, but to create a new category, right? A truly comprehensive back office, which is really Rev.io's vision, to be the best billing and back office software company in the world by delivering innovative solutions and extraordinary service to our clients and therefore to them to deliver to their end users. And so to be able to bring all this together to say, we're going to take the things that we don't have, which TigerPaw did have incredible inventory management, a lot of field services support that, the traditional PSAs actually don't do well. Rev.io's native usage rating, complex billing capabilities, advanced tax management.
The mobile apps are non-existent in the other ones. I mean, they're absolutely horrific. If you're a field tech, I mean, you are just, I'm going to be honest with you. We cheat. We write it down either on our phone, piece of paper, we go back to the office and then we put it. And I know that's like not the right answer, but I tell people when you're out here running cables in a crawl space underneath somebody's like business or whatever, or I'm in the stinky drop ceiling with like rat poop, I'm not starting my time entry one up there, buddy. I'm going to do it when I get back to the office.
But if I can have my earpod in and I can tell Revy, this is what I'm doing.
Time entry. I forgot.
That's right. And so mobile native, right? Mobile first, building everything API first. We also set a really aggressive target from the time that we did the acquisition because we saw this was a customer base that had been dying for innovation and had been begging for it. And candidly, had been promised it for years, and those promises were not delivered. That
still waiting.
We felt like we had the responsibility and the accountability that we have to deliver, for these customers, and they can't wait 5 years for us to do it, right? So we set a very aggressive timeline that we're going to rebuild the vast majority of this platform from scratch with the functionality that makes sense, bring it together into a cohesive mobile first API and AI native platform that's going to deliver incredible value for them. We're going to do that in 2 years. And we didn't quite hit that goal, right? We're kind of 2.5 years in now. We believe we have a substantial platform that can deliver a lot of value. You touched on the fact that every day we are taking feedback from clients and our own ideas, implementing those. But we saw that it was going to be impossible for us to do this without leveraging current technology and really pushing AI to its limits, right? I think AI's had its day recently, in particular in the last quarter and a half of hearing how advanced the coding capabilities are. We started doing this, 2.5 years ago, where we said, we're going to need it to scan code for us. We're going to need it to draft requirements. We're going to need our people pushing this technology so that we can really figure out how do we rebuild this quickly in a modern architecture. And by using those tools ourselves, we very quickly realized this has to be foundational inside of the platform because we saw the pace at which it was advancing and really realizing like, this is not going to be a flash in the pan. This isn't a fad. This is something that is going to change the way that it's done. And, so we have really incorporated that. And that's been something that we constantly go back to our teams of have we optimized this not only for human use, but so that they can, put agentic capabilities on top of this longer term? How do we leverage in digital labor? We view Rev.io as not only just going to be Rev.io forever, it's going to be whatever you want your coworker to be named, where, which task can I offload directly to it? Which areas do I want to be collaborative? Which things do I just want it to push notifications to me so I can do those tasks myself? And, really building that from the ground layer of our data structures. And I think that's what really is going to be the future of all software, is really who has the data, right? Who knows the
The
business
keepers of the data, those are the ones that are going to win. Who's got the data?
user behavior, right? Those are the things that allow us to create a vertically specialized applied application. That's where I see AI is going to be applied specialty knowledge to be able to take those actions for you. So the history of Tiger Paw and the amount of data that we have in there, and then you look at the same thing on the Rev.io side, puts us in a very unique position to deliver, very tailored, elegant workflows that our human clients can use, as well as our ability to focus on delivering, intelligence and agentic processes that make them vastly more efficient and allow them to scale, which we know is a challenge in particular for the MSP, right?
Absolutely.
Finding the next tech talent, really being able to have the internal knowledge and work capacity to take on that next customer is more of a challenge than finding who that next customer is, right? Many of them have more inbound interest than they can really take on. So we have really set out to say, how do we, when we have a client, make sure that they can limitlessly scale because of the technologies that we are building every day? We really carry that mantle. And I think that's something, again, going back to our culture and who our people are, that we're super excited for that. We love the fact that we onboard, support, do everything in-house. We create communities, whether those be our in-person summit that we hold.
These are your people for the long haul.
Right.
These are people that are all here physically, like at the company, that work at Rev. These are not outsourced like subcontractors. These are the people that you will be able to reach out to forever, that are always going to be able to help you with the things you're going to help with. All right, boys, we are about out of time. So we are going to do a quick question here. Evan, I want you to give one piece of advice to an MSP who is looking to scale or grow. What is one mistake that you made that you would like to share, that say, don't make the same mistake that I made, that's going to help them? Because I tell people, I always want to give you something to take back tomorrow. It can be simple, it can be complex. What is something you and your entrepreneurial self said, if I had done this differently, I would be further ahead. I wouldn't have suffered, all of the heartburn that I had.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many, but I'll pick one, right? Which is,
yes, pick one.
I think it's you really have to ask yourself the question of, is my business set up, and am I happy with every single piece of it? Or am I just accepting certain things because I believe they're too challenging to change, right? And I'm afraid of the potential pain of the unknown, so that, I'm willing to accept, the pain or discontent with something that I have in place. And we've talked to, I don't know how many providers that say, quotes like, I'm in a bad marriage with X, or, what, that's just too difficult to change. That's too disruptive. It's not necessarily that we were wrong in thinking that before, but what we have to take a hard look at is that the world is a very different place today than it was 3 months ago, and certainly than it was 2 years ago. The ability to change is more open than ever, right? We can leverage technologies to make the migration from systems much more easy, set up, onboarding. Systems now help teach you how to use them, right? So, this is one thing that if I could go back and kind of, tell my past self, even back then when it was more difficult, like no one ever, after switching and improving a technology, a system, a process, a person in their company as well, no one says, man, I really wish I waited a lot longer to do that.
Yep.
Everybody, even if it was a painful process to make the change, when you're on the other side and it's better, you're like, man, I wish I would have done that.
Yeah, done it earlier.
Right. So like rip the Band-Aid off. Don't do it, recklessly, right? But if there's something you're not happy with, there's something that's holding you back, build that plan, take action, and every time it's worth it. And every time you say, I wish I would have done that sooner, not I would have waited longer.
All right, Usman, So you've had a pretty stratospheric rise in this space from when you started to where you're at now. So for young people that are getting in this space, they're new to the channel, they're new to the MSP space. What is one piece of advice that you would give them to help them be more comfortable in this space? The space can be really daunting if you're fresh and you don't know a lot of people, you're fresh out of college. I mean, you know, you think you're smart and you know everything, and you get here and you realize pretty quick that you don't. So what's one piece of advice that you would give somebody that's younger, that's coming into the space, or maybe they've had a career change and they're moving here from another space, to try to help them navigate this space in a way that will help them not only be successful, but help them be happy as well and be able to have a good career where you really enjoy going to work every day?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's going to be hard to top Evan's response,
I
but
know,
I'll
right?
try my best. I mean, I think for me, it's always been like knowing what I enjoy and like obviously like being curious but I'll kind of take it back to like helping solve operational challenges and growing revenue. Those are things that I've always felt like, whenever I'm talking to an MSP, rather than trying to put on the hat of trying to sell them something, I've always kind of taken it back in terms of like being that strategic advisor. It's like, how can I help them grow their business? Because it's something I'm passionate about, right? Solving challenges, figuring cool stuff out, right? Being on top of like the AI stuff, the technology stuff. So just being curious. And I think also just networking as well, right? Like in this space, one of
There's
the
an art to that. It's
yeah,
harder than people think.
absolutely. But the crazy part is I've never, even on the telecom side, like this industry is so open to helping people grow and helping people solve challenges. You got MSPs helping other MSPs, which blows my mind. And sometimes they're like literally right across the street from each other and they're trying to
Yep.
help each other grow. You've got vendors helping vendors, right? Like us reaching out to you in the early stages. And then you've got vendors helping MSPs as well. I think this industry is very accepting of folks and open to giving people really good advice and like leverage that, like go to these events, make connections, right? Talk to people at the lobby bar, right? Most people
Yes.
are love to chat about themselves, but also like if you can find a commonality, whether that's talking about tech or AI or wherever that might be, talking about your dog or whatever, right? Like it's network, right? Be curious and really look at why are you in it, right? Like what's driving you, what are you passionate about, and focus on that.
All right. So thank you everybody for coming to our inaugural episode of MSP Unfiltered, sponsored by Rev.io. We're going to pop a quick QR code up here at the bottom. If you want to learn more about Rev.io, you can put in that QR code, take a look at it. If you want to reach out to me, you can look me up on LinkedIn or you can email me. It's Brook@rev.io. You can also reach out to Usman as well. We love to connect with people and solve problems. I will see you guys out on the road at the next event. And if you need anything, shoot us a message and let us know. Thank you everybody for hanging out with us today.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Brooke.